On this week's episode, Marvel brings in Kang and She-Hulk to the MCU. Spinal Tap says, "Give me some money." And Left 4 Dead 2 gets some much-needed love. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, throw out some of those gaming stars at us, people. It is truly appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own Kang the Conqueror of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Also, his great shows, Topicocalypse and the Super BS Gamescast. Plus, his amazing book, Congratulations, You Suck, which you can get every single day. You can go ahead just over to Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What's up? So I got some big news here on the Mass Effect rumor front.
Back to the rumor.
Yeah.
Wait, were you just going back down to the rumor mill?
Back down to the rumor mill for just like a quick second. Just putting my toes in the water there a little bit, swirling them around, to let you know that like it's turning out that some of these Mass Effect rumors are true, or they might be true, because there's a lot of, it's not just one site putting release dates up now, it's multiple sites. So I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it, and I'm getting excited about it. I want to ask you real quick, what would it have to like make you want to go back to that world, spend that extra $60 to go back to that world? What does something like that need for Gerald?
Just the words.
Just the words.
Mass Effect Trilogy Remaster.
Boom.
I would hope that they fix some of the glitches into as far as the first concern, most importantly, like spending 2 hours on the elevator going up and down, and the Mako, I think, was not much a beloved part of it, but it's still Mass Effect, man. Like I said, they can put anything you want and take out anything you want, as long as it's a Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking it'd be fun to play it on Switch, but then again, like first-person shooters are awful on the Switch.
Oh, it's a third person.
Or third person. Sorry, anything that involves shooting and moving is pretty bad on the Switch. So I don't know if I would want to play it on the Switch. But Xbox One, yeah, I'd be down.
Absolutely, that or PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. It just, to me, Mass Effect would be a great way to go. We're hearing more rumors on it. We're hearing more information on it. Like you said, a Portuguese retailer, if I'm not mistaken, posted it online, and it just seemed like it was there, and then it was not there. But more and more interest and more hints that a Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered would be coming to us, and hopefully that will be coming to light very soon. But we're going to be having a great episode today. We're going to have, hopefully, interviews with Daphne Matthew from The Walking Dead, talking about the Walking Dead universe. Had a little bit of connection issues with her, so I'm going to see if I can try and get the best review coming up here in a little bit. Plus, Jessica Boggs is going to give us a little bit of her insight into the TV world in this month's TV update. There is the Emmys going on this weekend and the past few days. I want to ask your thoughts, my friend. The Mandalorian and Disney Plus have won their first Emmys as far as from a technical standpoint. I know not all the Emmys have been announced. The more important Emmys, or the major or the headline or the frontline Emmys, are going to be announced here coming up later today. So I want to hear your thoughts on the Emmys going on a several-day format, on a virtual format, obviously due to the conditions of the pandemic. I'm going to go ahead and into more detail, hopefully, on this, and once all the winners are announced and all that. But I want to hear your thoughts on the Emmys going through a pandemic.
So I like the idea of the Mandalorian winning an award, but for some reason there's like something inside of my soul that is just saying this is not right. You know, like Disney is a juggernaut. Like Disney owns everything. Disney is going to win everything one day. And
Well, I mean, HBO still has, I think, the most, Emmy nominations. So, and Netflix has a ton of Emmy nominations. So it's not like it's just all Disney Plus.
right. But Disney keeps trying to like find their way to like stick fingers into things that they don't like belong in. But granted, again, like I think Mandalorian's a phenomenal show. So maybe I'm just feeling torn about it. Yeah, as for your other question, the Emmys, this is. Let me ask you a question. Okay,
Mhm.
let me lay this question down on the line for you. All right, just consider it, swirl around your brain a few times, and let me know what your thoughts are. Okay,
Hold on, I
the
have a list of why I do it.
okay, there we go. You
There you
like
go.
shaking a few things out to make room.
Oh my gosh, dusting off a few cobwebs.
Do you think that people watch the Emmys for the gatherings and the star power and just like seeing who's wearing what, who's attending, or do you think people actually care about like what shows are being talked about, or maybe a little bit of both? What three categories do you think are a majority of Emmys viewers?
I think it's a little bit of both, but if I had to say, I would probably lean towards the former instead of the latter. As far as you can always find out who won the next day, you can always find out who won online real easily. So people will love to just see the experience of these award shows. And I tell you right now, because it's being done the way it's going to be done, as far as virtually, they joke that the presenters are going to have, or the people that are going to be giving out the awards are going to have tuxedo hazmat suits on, and that part I thought was pretty cool. But we're going to see, because obviously you cannot have the type of attendance that you would normally do. You will see, as far as the overall TV ratings, how that's going to be affected, because I can pretty much assure you that the TV ratings are going to be affected by this in some form or fashion.
Oh, for sure, which is actually ironic if you think about it, because it's a award show for television.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
on the flip side of that, I am curious to see like what the numbers are going to be for this, like who's viewing it and where people are viewing it from, because with a DC fandom and Comic Con and stuff like that, it's different because you actually have people like making cool announcements, or like people who get to talk about things that don't normally get to be talked about. With this, it is literally just like, okay, and here's the winner, and people doing acceptance speeches and stuff. It's not the same thing, and that is where the line is for me. Like it's not something that I am interested in at all. But of course, I want to know who the winners and losers are, but not enough to like sit down and watch. I'd rather just like read a paper that says, and here are the winners and here are the losers.
Pretty much that's how I do it. I don't sit through the entire ceremony and things of that nature. I do go online, I check out the winners, and that's how I can go ahead and go forward and look from there and determine exactly what was it fair, was it a good representation, because there are some shows that I think got a little bit too much love in this year's Emmys. I think there are a lot of shows that got not enough love. I mean, that happens every year where you have shows that didn't get enough and some that got others. So I'm going to go ahead, hopefully this week, and get a chance to sit down with Jessica Boggs again later here this week. And so hopefully we can talk about some of the Emmy winners and losers going forward. I know the Latin community is not represented well. So I know that was an issue I spoke about with Marcus de la Garza on the live feed, the Facebook live feed for Facebook on our PCC Multiverse last week. So you want to check that out. We had a very spirited conversation on the the Latin community not being represented. So I like I said, it's just, you can't please everybody, and they're not pleasing everybody. I know with me, again, not only I'm a little bit disappointed that the Latin community is not well represented, but I'm also, as far as the diversity is still not there. But I'm still seeing where shows get off, or they get nominated based off of reputation and or star power. Like the morning show. The morning show was a critically if you look on Metacritic, and a lot of critics panned it, and still it was up for many awards for the Emmys. I mean, that's something that I don't know. Was it Apple's power? Was it the star power? Something, as far as it's concerned. So, I mean, there are shows like that across the board, some that were very deserving that didn't get nominated or didn't get love, and then some that got too much. So that happens seemingly every year. So I'm interested to see what the results are fully for over the 5 days that the Emmys will be giving out awards. And I want to go ahead and see if I can talk about it at some point soon. So I'm looking forward to it. But my friend, there's much more to talk about on today's program. I want to go ahead before we hit the break, and I know there's a controversy. Speaking of stuff that stuff that's in the news as far as controversy and people not liking and things of that nature. You recently got a book that's in the middle of a controversy of its own. So I want you to go ahead and talk about JK Rowling. Oh, excuse me, not JK Rowling, but it is JK Rowling. Robert Galbraith's Troubled Blood book, the controversy behind it. And first thing I want to ask you is, as an author, as a published author, why would you have a pen name if people already know who's behind it? I mean, why not just say it's you?
I think it's just for continuity's sake with her, is that, her publisher
Stephen
outed
King
her.
does the same thing.
Yeah, no, I know. So JK Rowling's publisher outed her because she was afraid that it would not sell if it did not have JK Rowling attached to it. So like that happened back with like Cuckoo's Calling was like the first book in that series. So I feel like that's kind of doing her a disservice, but then again, like she kind of has been doing herself a lot of disservices lately. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think the name Robert Galbraith looks it looks pretty spiffy on those covers as opposed to JK Rowling. But
if people
she's
know
writing,
it's JK Rowling, then why have it? I don't know. I don't get it.
yeah. I honestly think it's just a continuity thing.
I'll tell you what, for your next book, how about you go ahead and put your pen name as Gerald Glassford? How about that?
We could talk.
Okay. But overall, I mean, I know you were very adamant about reading the book despite the controversy, and obviously it stems from the transphobic comments that J.K. Rowling made, that she is now having to deal with the consequences and repercussions of. It's to the point now with the recent announcement that was made by Warner Brothers Games about Hogwarts Legacy, the video game. They had to specifically say that J.K. Rowling is not a part of consultation on this particular video game.
Yeah, that's, I read that. Like, and here's my thoughts on this. And like, granted, like she has done and said, writing that essay was incredibly stupid on her, but like, I honestly, I'm fine with her having her own opinion. I'm fine with other people having their own opinions. I'm fine with people's opinions, but like, we've talked about this before, this like witch hunt, like, I disagree with what you said, so I am going to destroy every atom of your being. Like, I can't get behind that kind of behavior, and that's kind of the crux of it with me. And like, I can see where like markets are affected by something, especially, relating to such a big franchise as Harry Potter. They still haven't made any announcements about like when, Fantastic Beasts are going to resume or any of that stuff. I know they just talked about they're going to do, Warner Brothers is doing some HBO show that is about Dumbledore. I know that's like just going into production. As for these books though, I love this series. Like, I am a huge fan. Like, I love about Cormoran Strike. He's a detective. He's a war veteran. He has one leg. Like, it's a super interesting book, and it's very well written. This is book 5, so I'm a huge fan of the series. So I was going to read it, whether it's controversial or not. But like, I got on there. So here's the thing. What was it? The Telegraph, right? The Telegraph is they're a site that really goes hard after people. They're like maybe one tiny tiptoe above being a tabloid. So they're always going after people for things. And what kills me is that they wrote this review because they were looking for controversy, saying that like, This is more JK Rowling talking about how she hates trans people and yada yada. But if I just got the book yesterday and I've been reading a little bit of it, but like if you read anything about it, you'll know that like there are other suspects. It's not just about that, and there's nothing in there that mentions trans people. It's all just a man in a dress, right? It's a fetish, I guess, for this guy. But it's I don't know. Yes, it is a little bit tone deaf, but also like I don't like how all these people are reading this one review, not even reading this one review. They're reading headlines and they're just like going after her with like fire. They want to crush her into dust and just scatter her into the wind. And a lot of these people, what bothers me is that they had no intention of reading the book and didn't even know the book existed until this little thing popped up and they had a reason to get all worked up about it. So that's the crux of it, and I'm glad everyone's I'm fine with everyone having their opinions. And yes, she should have thought better about what she was doing, but like as an author, I take that a little personally, because what kind of world would this be in if the people, if the the quote unquote offended get to dictate what writers put into fiction? It is fiction. What kind of world would this be if they get to dictate what people are and aren't allowed to write? Like that goes back to, you go back to the Puritan society, right? People were hung for writing things that society disagreed with, and like that's what this is starting to kind of feel like.
And
What are I'm sorry, I was
no
ranting.
That's why I put it where on this show, because I knew you were going to go ahead and share your thoughts, because you were very passionate about it. I mean, just check out your social media, and I understand that you have very adamant thoughts about it. But when somebody makes the statements that she does, and she's that type of public person, and she's garnered all this fame and notoriety and money from the work she did that is outstanding and has treated millions to the world of Harry Potter, which she should be commended for. She should also be just as, told that maybe her thoughts, she has her thoughts. She has her thoughts. She has her beliefs. She has her issues with the subject of trans, of the whole trans movement. And regardless of what side you're on, whatnot, she's going to have to pay the consequences from people who disagree with her. And that's just the way it is. I mean, it's just when you go ahead and make the statements that she makes, you better be prepared to have those repercussions upon you. And that if it affects Harry Potter adversely, if it affects her books going forward, if it affects anything that she's doing going forward, then that's just the way it is, because that's how people we now live in an age where with social media, internet, things of that nature, we now have more access to things, but we also have the ability to voice our opinions in a louder tone than ever before.
Yeah, and it's a shame too that the people with the loudest voices have the least amount of constructive things to say. But again, like I'm fine with everyone having their opinion. What really bothered me about this and yes, JK Rowling she's amazingly talented, but there are just times when she should think about what she's doing and saying, like whole writing an essay thing. Perhaps that was not the best way to go about selling yourself. But what bothers me about this case in particular is the fact that like there are these people who didn't even read the book and didn't even know the book existed, but they just felt the need to get out there and scream. They probably didn't even read any reviews. Like this is a review. Most of this stuff is like reviews of reviews. Like it's I mean, I'm reading that article that I sent you, right? From the Guardian, and like they're saying, yeah, it's tone deaf, but it is nothing like that original review, the Telegraph review says it is. And that is my issue, is that people are just finding things to get upset about. And
well, if you don't want to read the book, and you tell people out loud in a social forum that you don't want to read the book because of the comments that she made, that is your right and absolutely should be respected. And those things that she said were very offensive to a great deal of people. Yeah. But to go, now it gets to the question of, should we go ahead and vilify this person's work from this point forward? and do, like you said, do everything you can to go ahead and stop this person from making productive work, and then take all, punish all the work that that individual's done before, no matter what good it did for society, no matter what good it did for all those people out there, and no matter what it brought into lives when it comes to the world of Harry Potter. I mean, because we see the positive effects that it's done for so many people as far as the world of Harry Potter before.
Yeah, but I mean, back to what you had said earlier about people talking about, yeah, they have every right to say they're not going to read this book, but what bothers me is that like a lot of these people didn't have any intention on reading the book, didn't have any idea the book existed. So it was, if it's not something within your fandom, I don't think that you should really be like making a big deal out of it. But then again, that's just how I view the messed up world that is social media. And back to your other comment, like, yeah, I agree. Like we should let people know that we've been hurt by what they've said and what they're doing, but to also like not turn them into irredeemable humans, like don't make it so that they can never do anything ever again, because perhaps they could come out with something different. They can come out with something, they can change their tone later on and come out with something that really does inspire people. That's the sad part, because you look at someone as talented as JK Rowling, like she touched an entire generation and continues to do so. And maybe she has the ability to do that again. She just needs to kind of step outside of her her social and political views a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we can disagree. I disagree with what she had to say, but again, it comes down to the fact that right now she is feeling the repercussions of it, and a lot of people right now don't want to read what she has to say, or don't want to hear what she has to say, and that's their right, and we should respect it. And but again, when you make those statements and you put that out there, be prepared to go ahead and deal with the consequences one way or
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah. And here's like my final thought on this. Like, and honestly, I do this with people. I disagree with a lot of things that a lot of people do, but here's the thing, at the end of the day, just don't buy it. Just don't buy it. Don't support it. Don't buy it. You don't have to destroy the person that made it, and like, I know you said like you have to deal with the repercussions and all that. Yes, that's totally fine. But at the end of the day, like, we don't have to go after somebody just because we disagree with them. Just don't support them. It was really, really that simple.
What are your thoughts out there, everyone, on the Troubled Blood controversy from Robert Galbraith, aka JK Rowling? We want to hear your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, before we head to the half-hour break, I want to go ahead and ask you real quickly. A lot of good things coming up right now in Marvel land, because they just hired a She-Hulk and a Kang the Conqueror this past week. She-Hulk, they cast Tatiana Maslany, who's done a lot of indie stuff. She's a great upcoming actress. And with Kang the Conqueror, they've hired the star of Lovecraft Country, and also The Last Black Man in San Francisco, Jonathan Majors. I've got to check out Lovecraft Country because a lot of people have a great deal of positive things to say about that series. So I want to check that out. But I want to hear your thoughts. I mean, Marvel, even at a time of downtime with pandemic and all that, they're still planning ahead. They're still going forward. They're still going ahead and filling up these key roles with some what I think are very good actors and actresses. So I want to hear your thoughts on Marvel still planning out this Marvel Cinematic Universe long term.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that the pandemic had to happen at a time when we were at the end of the beginning, right? We had Avengers Endgame, and then the pandemic rolls around, and we haven't really seen anything since then. It's unfortunate that they were in transition when this whole thing happened. So now we're like, oh, cool, yeah, they're announcing another thing. That's awesome, cool, but we haven't even seen the beginning of the next thing. That's the unfortunate part. As for the shows, She-Hulk, I've only read a couple comics, and I think that'll be a cool dichotomy as far as like having regular Hulk and then having She-Hulk in the universe. It actually also makes me excited because originally, I remember there were rumors that like she was going to be she's going to make her premiere in Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man, as Peter Parker's lawyer, but now it turns out that she's having her own origin thing on her own show. And so it's kind of like gives me hope that those rumors, you know, of like Charlie Cox's Daredevil making his way into the Spider-Man universe is going to end up being true, but it might still just be a pipe dream. We'll see. As for Kang the Conqueror, I don't really know much about this character. Have you done any research on this guy?
Well, I think it emanates from what was done in Avengers Infinity War with the whole time loop thing and the whole time going back in time, back and forth and things of that nature. I think we're going to about to see in the next 2, 3, 4 years the repercussions of that event. And one of those things is Kang the Conqueror, who is a villain in the Marvel universe that is, I think, gone back and forth in time. But we're going to see repercussions with that. I know he's going to be, I think, rumored in Ant-Man 3. So
that's right.
So that's where he's going to be doing, along with the Young Avengers are going to be rumored to be starting there. And there's a whole bunch of things that are going to be happening within the realm of the Ant-Man 3 movie. And then with She-Hulk, she's getting her own series on Disney Plus. So you have that in place. So it's great to see what's going to be going on. They're planning and mapping out. They're not stopping just because of a pandemic. They're planning out long-term what they want to do. I know that we talked about, Marcus and I, on the PCC Multiverse, that what was it? That Falcon and the Winter Soldier could be very well delayed into 2021 because we're not seeing it on the slate of upcoming shows as of yet for 2020. So we're kind of concerned about that. But at least Marvel is still trying to do what they can to map out some type of consistency going forward.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'm excited about it, but again, like, I need to see the beginning of this first. I've been seeing a lot of publicity lately for WandaVision, which looks kind of cool, but it's unfortunate that all this had to happen, you know, right as the last thing ended. So we don't really know what the state of anyone is right now. We haven't seen any content since Avengers Endgame, and that's the it's still Disney's creating all this, Marvel's creating all this hype, and people are hyped, but it's like, how much longer are we going to have to wait? And my other thought here is that I really am hoping, you know, I love the idea of these Disney Plus shows. I love the idea of being able to watch She-Hulk and you know, the
Hawkeye and WandaVision
and stuff like that. Yeah, but I just, like, I don't want it to become. This is the reason that I kind of got turned off of like the DC shows, because there's so many of them, and it's too hard to, like, if you want to watch The Flash, you have to watch episode yada yada of the Arrow, episode whatever of Legends of Tomorrow, episode whatever of Supergirl. Like, it's so hard to keep track of all of it, and that's
and because these Disney Plus shows are all tying into the MCU, you're going to have to watch the shows.
Yeah, because they could very well reference something in the movies. You're like, I don't know what that means. You know, that's. I would hope that, like, it's, you know, they're spaced out enough to where, like, say you can casually watch one series over the course of like a month or maybe a month and a half. Like, that would be more my speed. But I don't know if I can handle having one show come out and then 3 weeks later another show, then 3 weeks later another show.
That would just space it out. I think they're smart.
I would be all right. Good. Yeah, just be buried. And from what I understand, the rumors are popping around that they're thinking about continuing outside of Iron Fist. I think at least they're considering continuing the stories of the Netflix Defenders. I don't know if there's any truth to those, but I've been seeing a lot of like murmurings about it lately, which I would actually really love because I'm a huge fan of Daredevil.
That's funny though, because you said outside of Iron Fist, because universally that show has been panned. So I know you said there was hope for the second season, but that's like, it's universally panned, my friend.
Yeah, they're going in the right direction. They just started like on such a bad. It's like when you wake up in the morning and you kick your toe on the corner of the bed, and then you like fall down the stairs on your way to the kitchen. Like, you just can't get up and keep going after that.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens, but I think they're going to space everything out in Disney Plus. Even with the pandemic, to kind of scrunch things up, I still think they're going to go ahead and be able to find room enough for people to go ahead and breathe before the next Marvel Cinematic Universe event, whether it's a movie or television show, they're going to go. They're going to be very smart about it. So I think they're going to go ahead and map everything out so that you will be able to go ahead and enjoy everything on Disney Plus and everything in the movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What are your thoughts out there on what's coming up for the MCU, the hiring of a She-Hulk and a Kang the Conqueror? Share your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Before we hit the halfway mark, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and touch on real quickly, Dungeons & Dragons celebrated 2020 with their celebration. And obviously they talk about new modules, talk about new things that they're adding in there, free tools for players, all these great things and whatnot. But since we've started to delve back into this tabletop RPG world as we do for our Pop Culture Cosmos streams each and every week, I want to ask you this. The most important thing I saw out of it was the huge amount of shows, podcasts, streams that they were dedicating. I think 4 days worth of streaming shows, or 4 or 5 days worth of streaming shows, back to back to back, of nothing but adventure after adventure after adventure, which tells me that this is once again a very hot industry to go to as far as the world of Dungeons and Dragons and the 5th edition and all that. So I want to hear your thoughts as someone who has yet to delve into. You were kind of interested again going with me. I've already delved into it. Already stuck my toe into the water, as they say. But I want to hear your thoughts on Dungeons and Dragons celebrating so many years later I don't want to say revival, but it now seems to me that it's stronger than ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm glad. I mean, this is, if you look at our world, right? Like this time more than ever, people have needed an escape. The only thing that really kills me about this is that like it still has that stigma with some people, like, oh, it's something that nerds do, but it really, like, it is so much fun. And I'm glad to see that students. I know that there's like there are like rumors of them like removing certain races and stuff from Dungeons and Dragons. There's some people upset about it. So I'm glad that like people are still able to come together over this, because this is Dungeons and Dragons, if anything, like it brings people together regardless of what their differences are. And that's what I've always admired about the game. I would love to play. I just like it's fine. I barely even have time to play video games at night these days. So it is something I'm interested, something I'd like to do, further out into the future. But I have a question for you. Is the D&D podcast that you've been doing, is that on our Podbean channel?
Not yet, because I'm going to go ahead and sit down and I'm going to produce a tabletop RPG adventures, like a little bit condensed version of it, or a best version of what we do each and every week on streaming, because there's glitches, there's other things in it that I want to take out. So I eventually will present an audio version of the streams that we've been doing on Facebook on Pop Culture Cosmos. So, I mean, if you want to check out the video, it's there. They're all there. All the hours and hours and hours of streaming that's been based off of Roll20. Roger and Mitch, who've both been DMing games for myself and others, whether it's in the Dungeons & Dragons or the Star Wars universe, they've done a great job. I want to give Kelly Lanigan. I want to give so many other people, James, and so many other people that have been playing, Belinda, and just a ton of people that have been playing with us. I want to give them big props. I know my DM for Star Wars Mercenaries, Mitch, who we're going to transition to something else. He's got a full world of Star Wars that he created. Here's a full world of Mass Effect that he's created. But he is, like you, just so inundated with so many other adventures. He just doesn't have time to go ahead and DM. So I'm reaching out to anybody out there that's interested in DMing Star Wars or Mass Effect Avengers. We've got players for you. Just got to go ahead, and if you're interested, let us know, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, and you can DM a great Mass Effect or Star Wars adventure today. So I know Josh would be interested in Mass Effect adventure for sure. I know I would be. So yeah, just wanted to give that out there at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But it is Dungeons & Dragons celebrating the world of Dungeons & Dragons all this weekend. It was a great time to see just so many different people around the world just celebrating this fascinating world of Dungeons & Dragons. And we want to hear your thoughts. What brings you into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. And if you haven't gotten into it yet, are you interested? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. All right, my friend, on the back end of the hour, I want to go ahead and thank you so much for staying with us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. It is Gerald Glasser along with my good friend, Mr. Josh Peterson. Josh, what video games have you been playing lately? I know we talked about everything from cartridges lately on the Sega Genesis to stuff you've been playing with Crosscode. I know I've been dealing with some stuff. I got some reviews on Pop Culture Cosmos, but I want to go ahead and hear your thoughts on what you've been playing lately in the world of video games.
So I have a couple cartridges. A couple cartridges I got to write reviews for. I think I talked about Arcagus already. I am in the midst of playing a game on Switch called My Brother Rabbit. I don't know if you've heard about that one, but it's like a point and click adventure. It's fun. The music's great, but it's hard. You know, my big beef with indie games, especially like something that I love indie games, but I don't like when they do this. They give you the system, this inventory system or crafting system, and they just expect you to know how to use it. Like there's no tutorials on what it is. And you can seriously sit down and take 3 hours to figure out how to do something. So the game is fun. It's so far. I mean, I'm frustrated by some of the things I have to do in it, but hopefully I'll have more on that soon. As for big things, this is one that I'm not reviewing. I'm just playing for fun. I picked up Mario 3D All-Stars. Started playing Mario 64, and I forgot how frustrating that game can be, because I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you go around trying to pick things up, Mario always power slides, and it is the most annoying thing in the world, because I'm trying to pick up Bomb and chuck them like I need to, and Mario just keeps, I don't know if the angle's not right, but he just keeps power sliding. I got so mad this morning that I shut the console off, because I just don't have the patience to sit there and do that. So far, game is good. I don't really like how they made the picture smaller and they put the black bars on the side. But then again, I guess they'd have to rebuild from the ground up to fit modern resolution. What are you playing though?
Well, I'm not going to throw my controller around, mind you, but I've been playing, and I've got reviews up this past weekend on popculturecosmos.com for Sisters Royale, Five Sisters Under Fire. Finally got that up there. It's a nice little shooter, very quick. Story is terrible, so disregard the story. It's all text-based, so you can really easily skip that. But it's a top-down shooter that you can easily play. Takes about half an hour, 45 minutes. You can play one of Five Sisters. It's pretty much the same story for each of or same pathway through for each of the Five Sisters, as they're, you're playing one of them, and you're trying to go ahead and just fight through wave of battling sisters in order to go ahead and marry the love of your life. And in order to do so, yeah, like I said, wave. But the interesting thing is just the frantic gameplay that's all over the place, because it's a top-down shooter with projectiles coming at you from all different directions and enemies and all that. And it makes for a nice, quick palate cleanser. So if you're interested, like I said, if you're on the go, I especially recommend this for Nintendo Switch, although it is on all the major systems today. All the Xbox One, PS4, and PCs. But I would say the best place to play this is on the Nintendo Switch. If you're on a drive going somewhere and you're in the back seat playing for about half an hour, 45 minutes, you can go through a completion with one of the girls, and boom, you're at your location. So I think that's probably the best way to play. So I give it a positive review, even though the story is garbage. I will say that it was just absolutely just horrendous. Just disregard the story. But again, it's something that if you're into fast frenetic gameplay for something that'll hold your attention for 30 minutes, I think it's worth your time. I want to go ahead and say the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters. Speaking of sisters, that was a pretty interesting horror game. I gave that also a positive review, because that's basically again a storyline that's about high school gone very creepy with rituals and monsters and people trying to go ahead and get this girl. So you're doing what you can as far as gathering resources, hiding, evading, until you go ahead and try and stop this blood ritual from happening. It's a kind of scary movie. It's a scary video game. It's got some good points on it, and I gave it also I also gave it a positive review, and you can find that on popculturecosmos.com. And then, of course, finally, I wanted to go ahead and say I'm replaying, or excuse me, you've seen the video on Facebook video, hopefully, of me playing Destroy All Humans, the remake of the classic 2005 hit from Xbox and PlayStation 2. Got a chance to go through that. I'm currently working on a review for that now. That should be up here in the next day or so at popculturecosmos.com. But I will have very positive thoughts on that because it's always cool to go ahead and zap some rays as an alien on humans, and their brains pop out and you grab their DNA and you go ahead and get in your flying saucer and destroy everything and the army and all that as far as you're battling against. And you can clone yourself into somebody else, and also you can also hypnotize them and get them to go ahead and follow you and battle for you. So all these great things. It's kind of like an open world. It's like a half open world type deal. It's got some tropes, unfortunately, open world games have, but still, it's a very positive experience, and you can go ahead and you can go ahead and read my thoughts on it coming up this week at Pop Culture Cosmos. So I'm hoping to go ahead and get a chance to get into Kingdoms of Amalur, the Re-Reckoning. So I'm hoping to get a chance to go ahead and start that as well this week.
Yeah. I mean, I got one more cartridge game and one more Steam game to get out there. So it's just finding time. It's I envy the people that do this for a living.
Absolutely, and I want to thank all the PR companies and development studios that have sent us games. We truly appreciate every one of them going ahead and sending us out these games for review. And you'll be seeing more of our thoughts on it either on playthroughs on Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos or the final reviews that we put out there at popculturecosmos.com. Before we hit the break, and hopefully we'll have Jessica Boggs and Daphne Matthew back to back, I want to go ahead real quickly, my friend, and ask you this. We're going to go ahead and talk about video games. Do you feel like getting back into Left 4 Dead 2, my friend? Because Left 4 Dead 2, for the first time in, I think, almost a decade, they are adding new content to it in The Last Stand, free of charge. That's for everybody out there that's playing Left 4 Dead 2 on PC, I think. I don't think it's going to be downloading on consoles, but I want to hear your thoughts on possibly going back to the world of Left 4 Dead 2. I'm in, so because it's going to be downloading later this week, so I'm interested. Are you?
Probably not. I honestly, I love that people. I was never a huge fan of that game. I love that people loved it, and I played it with Big Dog and Brian Kane for a long time. But it's not my favorite thing to play.
You see that motion right there? I'm throwing a Molotov cocktail your way.
I don't know. It's just it's too overwhelming, having all the levels are so dark and you got things like spitting on you and stuff like that. It was fun for the time I spent in it, but if you were to say, hey, they're adding this in 10 years later, is this something you're going to go back and play? I'm probably not going to go back and play it. If they had another Left 4 Dead game, a brand new from the ground up one, then yeah, I'd probably go back and play it.
Well, I will go ahead and see what happens when Left 4 Dead 2 later this week gets an update. The first time, I believe, in over a decade, and that's going to be hitting to Steam coming up later this week, I believe on the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. And so stay tuned for Left 4 Dead 2 players out there and fans of Left 4 Dead 2 fans for The Last Stand coming out later this week. Also coming out later this week for video games is a documentary that's coming to CBS. That's coming to CBS All Access, my friend. I don't think it's the movie per se, but I know Seth Rogen is behind it. I think still. And that is the documentary Console Wars, based off the early years and based off the book that so many people have loved in regards to the Sega Genesis Nintendo battle of the early 90s and the mid 90s. So I'm going to be checking out this week, and I'm very interested to see how it compares to the recent docuseries that was High Score, which you and I spoke about earlier. I think you and I spoke about on a previous episode. So I want to hear your thoughts. You're going to be checking out Console Wars. So I want to hear your thoughts, my friend. Console Wars, again, it's a documentary coming out to CBS All Access. Are you interested in checking out Console Wars?
Yes, I am. I love video game documentaries, and there's not enough of them out there. Uh, but yes, I am interested in checking this out because like my childhood is in the Sega versus Nintendo console battle, and that is something that I would love to. I don't know a lot about it, I know that like what I've seen on High Score, what I've read on the internet, but like you don't really. I What excites me about this series is being able to see like the faces, I guess, behind it, and that is something that really does appeal to me. I don't know if I'm like going to subscribe to CBS All Access to watch it, but if I can get like a free thing, then yeah, I could be
Think you
interested in that.
can. Well, this is before CBS All Access evolves into Paramount Plus early next year. So that's what's going to happen with CBS All Access. So it'll be interesting to see how many people are going to be watching. How many people are going to be watching Console Wars coming up later this week to CBS All Access. So let us know if you get a chance to see Console Wars. We're going to share our thoughts the next time Josh and I get together. We're going to share our thoughts on Console Wars, and hopefully you'll get a chance to check out your thoughts as well on Console Wars. Hopefully get a chance to check out Console Wars coming up later this week on CBS All Access. Coming up, we've got Jessica Boggs and hopefully Daphne Matthew. I'm hoping Daphne Matthew. I'm hoping we can get a good segment there real quick. Her thoughts real quick on, we're going to hear hopefully Daphne Matthews' thoughts real quick on what's going on with The Walking Dead, and also get some quick thoughts from Jessica Boggs in this month's TV update. Coming up right after the break. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to thank so much Daphne Matthew from the Walking Dead fan base, and also Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. I want to thank both those ladies for being on the show today. Real quick, my friend, before we head on out, I don't know if you caught the story about a beloved cult classic movie called This is Spinal Tap. Hopefully you have encountered this movie at some point in time in your life.
Yes.
Well, the reason why I'm asking this is because there was a recent settlement between the film studio and the creators of This is Spinal Tap, which is Harry Shearer, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and director Rob Reiner, because the initial suit by Harry Shearer and all four eventually after that getting involved with it uncovered some issues as regards to rights, as far as money. And get this, my friend, you would say with the kind of notoriety this cult classic has had in This is Spinal Tap, you would probably say that This is Spinal Tap has earned a pretty good chunk of change over the years, don't you think? And this stems from This is Spinal Tap, which came out, this movie came out in the early 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen merchandise of it. I see, even seen toys of it. I've seen the soundtrack. They reproduce the vinyl every year. Yeah, it's got it. I'm sure it's big.
I'm sure it's big as well. I mean, the movie itself didn't do that great at the box office way back when, but in re-releases, it's made more money. Obviously, it's done a great deal on cable television, and then reruns, and then also, of course, primarily on home video. It's done a ton, I would imagine, of sales because it's become such a cult classic and it's been so highly recommended. And it's thought of as probably one of the best, if not the best, mockumentary of all time. And at least, and I think it even created the genre because it's thought of so well. So it was interesting to see the origins of the suit when it was found out, or it was reported by Harry Shearer in his complaint, and along with the other co-creators, that they have only received, each of them, or at least Harry Shearer's case, about $130 worth of revenue and merchandising from it, about combined. that was like 80 from one, 80 something from one, and 50 something from another. If you take a look at it, it's just really some eye-opening number about how little they've made from This Is Spinal Tap. So you can see why that they're so, why they had the justification for the suit in the first place.
So what happened with it though? Why was he making so little money?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I almost like I set you up on that. It was actually because, as they stated in the suit, that it was due to quote unquote Hollywood's accounting and the movie industry's accounting. And I think this is a larger issue where movie studios underreport or find creative ways to go ahead and report movies at a loss that actually, in essence, make them either a small bit or even a large bit of money. So they've been creatively accounting the revenue and the money earned from all these different assets of the facets of the This Is Spinal Tap universe. They've been, I'm assuming, raking in a lot of money off it, and they've been finding creative ways to underreport it. So finally, I guess this weekend, because this has been going in court for years now, they finally came to a settlement. So it sounds like that it came to a settlement that This Is Spinal Tap creators could be accepted with. But it leads to a larger issue of how many movies in Hollywood and in the movie industry get creatively accounted just like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope too that they would give him like some back royalties too, just because that's absolutely insane for a movie as big as this one was.
Well, I think it also incurs. I don't know if they were shooting for rights at one time. It's very unclear yet what exactly that they're getting from it. But when you come to a settlement, you know that there's going to be something, especially in this case, of a large amount that's going to be given to the four creators of This Is Spinal Tap. And it just seems like at this point in time, hopefully the rights will be given back to them as well. But even if not, that they'll be given some merchandising points, some proper points, some proper and deserved income going forward for whatever residuals that This Is Spinal Tap will be making going forward. But I'm assuming that they got a lot on the back end, and hopefully we'll be getting a nice chunk going forward. But again, it just leads to a larger issue in Hollywood where this creative accounting, so to speak, could be affecting not just a movie like that, but a lot of other movies that have happened in the past.
Yeah, it's crazy just like how greedy people get. Like you see how much money people make in that industry, and like there's no concern for like the smaller people. Look at, they are technically rich compared to just an average income, right? So it's crazy. How much more money could you possibly want?
Well, I mean, I understand from the artist's point of view, because this movie is based off their creation. This is Spinal Tap is their creation. They thought of this idea. They thought of the concept, and you see how brilliant it is. And they deserve to go ahead, and if this movie or experience made money, they deserve to get their share of it, and to not for so many years get any kind of residual effects of it, or very little, I should say. And in fact, again, they'd received $81 in merchandising income, and I want to correct myself, a full whopping $98 in musical sales income at the time of their suit in 2016. So, I mean, wow, $179 from all their work in This Is Spinal Tap. You can see why they went to court.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, it's a shame.
It is a shame indeed, but I'm glad that they are now getting hopefully some just rewards, because This Is Spinal Tap is truly an amazing adventure. And hopefully now, knowing that the creators of it will finally get their just rewards, hopefully going forward, people, if you've not seen it yet, or if you want to go ahead and listen to the music or anything of that nature, please check out the world and experience of This Is Spinal Tap today. What are your thoughts out there on This Is Spinal Tap? The creators finally getting a settlement done with the movie studios involved, and then also as well, what are do you think that this is the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, and a larger problem on how the movie industry evaluates what is a success and what's not a success in the movie industry for the movies out there at the box office. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. I just cannot thank you enough for being a part of it. Any last thoughts on the way out?
None that I can think of. Covered a lot today.
Yeah, we did. We hit people up out there with a lot of stuff, but we wanted to make sure we go ahead and fill you in on the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, as we always do. Stay tuned for Marcus de la Garza stepping in once again for Josh on on Friday's episode of the PCC Multiverse. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say. And again, we cannot thank you enough for supporting us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great